I called in sick 12 times in 2 months, and I wasn't sick once. My job at the insurance company was slowly killing my soul. Not dramatically, just the steady, grinding kind of misery that builds up over months until you realize you've stopped caring about everything. The work was mind-numbing. My boss micromanaged every email, and the company had made it clear there was no room for advancement. I'd been there 18 months, and the longest conversation I'd had with anyone above my direct supervisor was about whether I was taking too long for lunch breaks. I knew I had to get out, but job searching while working full-time felt impossible. Most interviews were scheduled during business hours, and my boss required detailed explanations for any time away from the office. Vacation days had to be requested 2 weeks in advance and were frequently denied because we were too busy, though I never figured out what exactly we were busy doing. My company offered 8 sick days per year, no questions asked as long as you called in before 9 a.m. I'd never used them before. I was the type of person who came to work with a fever rather than call in sick. But when I started getting interview requests, those unused sick days started looking like my ticket out. The first time I did it, I felt physically ill from guilt. I called my boss at 8:30, put on my most pathetic voice, and claimed I had food poisoning. Then I spent the day in a conference room downtown, interviewing for a marketing position that paid $15,000 more than I was making. The interviews kept coming, and I kept calling in sick, sometimes twice in 1 week. I developed an elaborate system of fake symptoms, stomach bugs that lasted exactly 24 hours, migraines that coincidentally struck on days when I had second-round interviews, a mysterious recurring illness that my fictional doctor couldn't quite diagnose, but required frequent appointments. My coworkers started joking that I had the worst immune system they'd ever seen. My boss began making pointed comments about my attendance, asking if everything was okay at home, suggesting I might want to see a specialist about my ongoing health issues. The worst part was how concerned everyone seemed. My desk neighbor, Sarah, brought me homemade soup one Monday after I'd supposedly spent the weekend with the flu. She'd actually taken time on her Sunday to make soup for someone who had been perfectly healthy, sitting in a Starbucks preparing for interviews. Another coworker covered my workload without complaint every time I called in, staying late to finish projects so I wouldn't fall behind. They were being genuinely kind to someone who was lying to their faces. But the strategy worked. After 6 weeks of fake illnesses, I landed a job with better pay, better benefits, and actually interesting work. When I gave my 2 weeks' notice, my boss seemed almost relieved. "I was worried about your health," she said. "This job can be stressful, and it seemed like it was really affecting you physically." She was trying to be supportive, trying to show concern for my well-being, and I just nodded along like she was absolutely right. I love my new job. The work is challenging. My colleagues treat me like an adult, and I haven't called in sick once in the year I've been here, partly because I don't need to lie anymore, but partly because using those sick days dishonestly made me feel like I'd used up some kind of karma. I keep thinking about Sarah's soup, about my boss's genuine concern, about my coworker staying late to cover for my fake illnesses. These people weren't my friends exactly, but they were decent humans who showed me kindness when they thought I needed it. I took advantage of that kindness to get what I wanted. The rational part of me knows that companies exploit workers all the time, that my old job was underpaying me and treating me poorly, that I was just evening the scales. But the other part of me knows I could have found another way. I could have been honest about needing time for appointments, could have pushed back on the vacation day restrictions, could have been more creative about scheduling interviews outside work hours. Instead, I chose the path that felt easiest and required the most deception. What would you have done? Tell me in the comments.